Hello, my name is Don Alexander with SICK Applications in Bloomington, Minnesota. We're here to step through upgrading LMS200 series equipment to LMS500 series equipment for traffic applications. Before we begin installing the new LMS511 scanner, the tools that are required are two screwdrivers. One's a small blade screwdriver, the other one's a large blade screwdriver. We need a Phillips head screwdriver. We need two Allen keys. One's a 5mm Allen key, the other one's a 3mm Allen key. We need two wrenches. One's at 10mm and the other one's at 13mm. And then we need a socket that's also 13mm. What we have here is a complement of accessories that makes it easier to upgrade LMS equipment in the field to current generation LMS equipment. And this current LMS is a 500 series LMS, which is used typically to upgrade 200 series scanners in the field. This complement here is the weather protection hood, which also houses the LMS511 scanner. There are 4 screws that secure the scanners into the weather hood, and also there's 4 screws that seals and closes the weather protection hood for the LMS500 scanner. The two accessories shown here consist of a wing bracket and a light junction box. The wing bracket is used to secure the scanner to the weather protection hood, and the light junction box is used to bring in existing field wiring into the LMS511 scanner. It consists of 3 cables that are M12 form factored so that users can simply screw on each individual cable to the connector assembly on the LMS511 scanner. These 2 sub-assemblies, this particular one is referred to as the swivel mount, and this sub-assembly is referred to as the mass mount. They adhere to each other, and we'll demonstrate that later, but this swivel assembly is utilized to help the user position the scanner over the road surface more accurately. And the mass mount, which is this particular piece over here, secures the whole scanner assembly to the mast in conjunction with these 2 120mm straps. And this process involves insertion of the LMS500 into the weather protection hood. This is what it looks like when it's closed. I'm going to reposition it to take advantage of placing the scanner into the weather protection hood and using gravity to our advantage. Okay, this is the LMS500 series scanner. It has a built-in display. It's at the top. And we're going to position the scanner accordingly. Now we're going to close the spring-loaded assembly. And then we can proceed with the attachment of the scanner to the weather protection hood. Now we're going to secure 4 socket cap screws with a number 5 Allen key. I started with the first screw, and this is the number 5 Allen key. And it's just a simple matter of inserting and screwing down the socket cap screw. And we need to follow through with 3 more screws, and all it requires is 4 screws to secure the LMS500 scanner to the weather protection hood. We finished inserting 3 more screws, so a total of 4 screws secures the LMS500 to the weather protection hood. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to secure the weather protection hoods. It's a spring-loaded type of a hood, and we have to assemble the hood together, and we'll do that with 4 screws. So I'm going to start out with the first screw. We utilize the same number 5 hex key, And we also need, most likely, the box end of a 10mm wrench. So that will hold the nut in place while we tighten down this first screw. So I'm going to get started with this. Then I'm going to use the box end of the wrench to hold the nut in place. That should do it. Make sure it's tight. We first inserted this screw and secured it, and there's 3 additional screws in the subassembly that needs to be secured after the first one. Once all 4 screws are secured, you should be able to pick up the whole subassembly and shake it to see if there's any rattles. If there aren't any rattles heard, then the system is fully assembled. This is the junction box. It's a light junction box from SICK. It's part number 206-2346 again. And what we've done is we detached the existing cabling to the LMS200 series scanner and inserted the existing cabling into the junction box. As you can see later, there's 2 screws that protrude from the box, and that's the reason why I ensured that the cover is still on so that we don't lose the screws. So I'm going to remove the cover from the junction box. Showing the connections that leads from the field into the scanner essentially. Now that junction box attaches to either the left side of the wing bracket or the right side of the wing bracket. Only 2 screws are required to secure the junction box to the wing bracket. Now we're going to install the junction box onto the wing bracket. So we just simply move it into this position and align the protruding screws with the threaded inserts. What I have in my hand is a number 3 hex key, and we're going to use that to drive the screw into the threaded holes here. These screws are painted, the threads are painted, so it has a little bit of resistance when you're screwing it down using this hex key. And then we're just going to put the cover on. What's important is to secure the cover on very securely because it's an IP67 case, and we want to make sure that water does not ingress into the junction box. So this particular tool is a number 13mm wrench, which will secure the bolt onto the threaded piece on the mast bracket. This is a fully assembled mast bracket swivel bracket assembly. I have the junction box wing assembly. I'm going to attach it to the weather protection assembly just by lowering it into the cavity of the weather protection hood assembly. I have a 13mm wrench which allows me to tighten all 4 screws onto the weather protection hood assembly. There is Loctite on the screws, so it's advisable to use this wrench all the way through. That finishes that. On the opposite side, we're going to insert the screw into the opening and then tighten it down with a spanner, which is also 13mm. Just like that. Now the wing assembly is fully attached to the weather protection hood. All 4 bolts are attached, and we're ready to stage the swivel assembly and the mast assembly. Now we're going to place the swivel assembly onto the wing assembly like this. So I pick up a screw, start it, start the other side. retrieve my 13mm socket. Start on the first one. With the swivel and mast assembly attached to the wing assembly, the whole LMS500 assembly can be staged onto the support assembly over the road surface. We lifted the scanner assembly onto the support mast. Now we're going to secure the scanner using two 127mm hose clamps. With the swivel assembly, you're able to pivot the scanner head, but make sure that the bolts are loose enough for that to occur. So we can swing it back and forth in this orientation. Once we have it in the right position, then we can clamp down on the bolts to secure that position. What we're doing is staging the junction box connector leads onto the M12 connectors on the top of the scanner. And we just simply align the notches on the M12 mating connectors to the panel connectors and then simply screw them down tight. These connectors are rated at IP67 so that they can withstand the elements that's typical in traffic applications. This completes our installation phase for the LMS500 upgrade. We appreciate your time and consideration. If there's any questions, feel free to contact us at Applications Engineering at autoidhelp.com. Thank you.